we never half-assed anything. You know, we would work out. We would go to play ball every morning. We would wake up like 5:30, 6 a.m. Latest, we were already like out running to the court, you know, and then playing ball for an hour, training for an hour, then going back home. And that was the thing. I mean, my dad himself was waking up super early, like, you know, he would go from 6 a.m. for a run. He would do like, I don't know how many kilometers and come back by, 7:15, he'll be back. Boom, ready for his day, you know. And so, all of these inspirations and this way of doing things were really inspiring you to just keep your game all the way up. You just didn't want to fail as well. It's just like, everybody's like keeping each other, accountable and trying to see, so what's up. And basically, when the music really came about for me, I realized that, okay, I like the rapping part of things, but I wasn't the best, and I knew that there was some guys in my crew that was just killers at that thing, and we were rapping over known beats. We even did lipping basically. So we would play a joint by a specific hip hop band. So for example, I Am, and we would rap over their raps. But the same lyrics, obviously. So it was kind of like a playback kind of situation, and people were there. People would be like, applauding us. I mean, I have videos of that. I'll upload. So I have to actually, I've found the cassettes. I have to get them converted into in a format that will allow me to upload them on this channel. But yeah, I mean, beat making was really becoming the thing that I felt like, okay, I needed to get back to, and so that's how. Well, I get back to actually get into, because I just was, obviously after the death of my brother at the time, that was very, very far away from me. But then, I was like, okay, let me get into this thing, And so eventually on one of those vacations, actually not true. In 2000, I was living in Central African Republic, moving to Europe, and I think that was a very traumatic thing for me as a kid, because I was 18 years old. Here is a place where I've never seen myself being living out of. Just for me, Europe was just like Babylon. I was getting into a world that I enjoyed going to for a month or two per year, but I was always in my environment, being back home in Central African Republic. So that alone was a big trauma, was a big, big trauma. That I remember to this day, the day I left Ben. Oh man, the whole town, and all my friends, like, close, not so close, everybody, they were all crying. Everybody was crying because I was gonna live forever. And I'm pretty sure some of you can relate to that, but that feeling it makes you grow. It makes you grow because shit, man. It's a specific feeling. It's hard to explain and put this into words. But anyways, as complicated as it was, moving to Europe allowed me to, start getting into, some technological stuff, computers, and learning about, specific music programs. I think I started, early because the idea was like, okay, cool, guys. When I'm in Europe, I'm going to make beats and send them to you guys. So already then, because we had at the time, so it was hip hop. So we're like, we're going to make it big, no matter what. I'm in Europe, don't worry. I'll be the beat maker. See, who I can talk to. I mean, we already had a vision from early on. That's what we wanted to do. And a year after, I went back to Central African Republic for vacation. So 2 years after, so 2001 or 2002, I believe I was there. And That was the last time I went after I returned there back in 2012. So 10 years. So in 2002, I had been in Europe at the time in Belgium for, already 2 years. And so I came back with some beats and, we started working on some ideas and, you know, um, you could see that there was already some little, everybody was on about their own stuff. So I was like, all right, cool, get it, and it's normal, in 2 years, man, can't expect everybody to be aligned, right? And people gotta hustle. Some of us already had kids, some of my boys already had kids. So that was a big blow. We never felt, with the core crew, GB, with who else was there? There was like Saleh, GB, but unfortunately Catastrophe, he died. I think it was this in 2004 or something. But anyways, so we held on. So I returned back to Europe after these vacations, and then eventually I decided to stop school. It wasn't for me. I was getting super depressed, and music was just my thing, because you got to bear in mind all this time, I'm nostalgic. I want to go back to Central African Republic. I don't see myself to be in Europe anymore, But after 2, 3 years, 4 years, you start to realize that you won't go anytime soon. And then unfortunately, some things happen, in the family and the personal level, which I won't get into right now, but I will in time probably. My father had to take exile pretty much. My sisters, my mother, everybody had to leave at some point. And so music really was this point of salvation for me. And I was making beats, but not on a level that was, sufficient to say I was doing anything specifically dope, but it was okay. I was experimenting, of course, as anything you start, you're not going to be all of a sudden dope at it. But I had a vision. And in the meantime, so when I decided to stop school, my dad was like, look, it's not the end of the world. I wish you went to university and all that. It's okay. It's not for you. It wasn't for me when I was your age. I also stopped school when I was 18. And look at me, I'm a successful man now. So it doesn't mean you won't succeed in life, but you're gonna have to get your ass up and get to work. All right, cool. So that's what I did. And, I went into the diamonds business where I studied, the craft of polishing and cutting diamonds, and also the sorting of diamonds, rough diamonds, etc. So I took quite some pleasure at diving into that, because you got to bear in mind, this is a world I grew up in. My father was in that business, so that's my life. And I've seen diamonds all my life. I've seen, so it wasn't foreign. So I already had a gift for it. Interestingly enough, a gift that I didn't know I had until, obviously I went there and the teachers were like, oh, this boy is really talented. So had it not been for the hurdles we've encountered along the way at some point, I would have probably never, been here talking to you guys on YouTube, because I would have probably chosen a completely different path and probably making, loads of millions with my, diamonds business. But, art was always there. And so when these different hurdles happened to my family and I got disgusted by the whole business of diamonds, I just was like, all right, cool, fuck this. I want to dive into music. And whether my father likes the idea or not, this is what I'm going to do. Well, that's brave me talking. The reality is that I was, very lucky that my second older brother, and one of his friends went and spoke to my dad and said, look, let this boy do his thing. Let him try. Give him a year. And if after a year or you don't see anything, then okay, cool. You can start saying something. But otherwise, give him a chance to do it, to prove you that he can do this. And he did. He said, okay, cool. I'll give you 1 year. And if after 1 year, if you prove me wrong, you're gonna do what I ask you to do. If you don't prove me wrong, you're gonna do what I'm asking you to do. I said, okay. A year in, out there and busted my ass and linked up with people. And big shout out to Roberta and Dennis from Urban Groove at the time, big record store. My first time touching a vinyl was there in their store. First time I ever. I in like putting it on the Techniques and started to, put that needle on it and just press start. That feeling was the most incredible shit. And same thing. I started mixing for the first time in the store. And she was like, yo, you're so passionate. She let me behind the desk and she was like, all right, cool, come and play. I started mixing 2 records. I had never mixed records before. I DJ'd before. I knew what it was to play a track after the other, but I never blended songs together. So right then and there, she was like, yo, you've been DJing for a long time? I said, no. It's my first time really, DJing like that with vinyls, which is not an easy art to do. An easy thing to do, sorry. She was blown away. She was like, man, yo, cool. So I would go there regularly, go to the store regularly, and I discovered at the time Oshula Day. And in the process of digging to those records, I stumbled upon Alton Miller's 12-inch. But actually, let me bring things back. My brother Laurent had a friend who I was very impressed by this guy. What's his name? Christian, I believe, yeah. Purist, music purist, a bit of a knobhead, to be honest with you, very cocky, but not a bad guy. But I always felt him. It was hard to grasp this dude, but he felt that I was passionate about sounds, and he was okay. This little boy is okay, whatever. So he gave me a bunch of CDs. And I started diving into the CDs, and inside one of these in one of the CDs there was some Kraftwerk, there was freaking Daft Punk, Alton Miller, Rhythm Exposed. Man, there was so many albums, so many artists. I mean, Juan Hatkins, you name it, the legends of techno and house, etc., and deep house. Just for me to understand, what this music was about. Another friend of my brother, Nicolas, actually, this dude, man, smoked so many spliffs, but had the biggest fucking knowledge in music. Reggae, funk, soul, rare grooves, live that shit to him. That guy is a freaking living dictionary or whatever the fuck he has as knowledge is something incredible that was really helpful in giving me profound knowledge. So all these guys, they gave me CDs, so I burned those CDs, converted them into MP3s, etc., etc., etc. That's how I discovered Abby Hancock, for example. Man, just so many artists. So going back to that day, I met the music of Oshula Day. Because Alton Miller already, when I heard his music, I was just like blown away, right? But actually, there's a part that I skipped. I'm sorry. When I was in Bria in Central Republic, right before, even way before I moved to Europe in 2000, my uncle, my father's youngest brother, who was living in London at the time, brought back CDs to Bria during one summer, on the during vacations in the summer. That CD was, I think it was Kevin Yost. Run About Midnight, that album. That album's called Run About Midnight, I think. Oh, One Starry Night. Man, this album, when you press play from beginning to end, that album changed my entire life. There's a couple of albums I can tell you like that just blew me the fuck away. And I was like, I want to do this. I want to make this kind of music. I've never heard anything like that. Never. So you've got to understand, being introduced to all these sounds, I was just like a kid in a candy shop. I wanted to eat it all, and I wanted to consume all this music. And obviously, I had to prove myself in a year to my dad to show him that that's what I want to do, and I'm going to succeed. I'm going to succeed. I'm going to do this. And so discovering the music of Oshunade, I remember to this day, was Radadu with Wumi on vocals. And that, it's like, those movies where you see an image and I guess the guy takes something, gets high and then gets sent to a different world. Well, I never done drugs, I smoke some weed every once in a while, but only in an environment where there was either my brother or somebody of trust. But these things never really got me high anyway, so it was, I never really found interest in these things, and let alone drugs. I never was into that, never tried it. So not something that would be an experience I could speak on, because I don't know what it is. But I do know that the experience I had when I heard these sounds was, if somebody told me that this was what it feels like, then for me music has always been the biggest high. I have a kick and I have something when I hear certain sounds that just takes me to a place where I can't describe it. But in a spiritual form and in a spiritual way. And that's how I understood that music is spiritual. I had no idea until then that it was. My spirit got lifted in such a massive way. I just didn't expect it to be the case. But that's also because the experience that I've had of music was so organic and so natural before back home, and I wasn't articulating it in that way because I was in it. But being that I was away from home and I was trying to find myself in this new world, you got to bear in mind, when the first time I arrived in Belgium, I said hello to people on the streets. I didn't, you do back home, and people would look at me and be aggressive. I remember I said hello to one guy, to a group of people, and just said hello. I stood by the red light, and this guy came right at me, kicked me in my back, and I fell on my knees. And I turned back, and the guy was like, well, what the fuck are you gonna do? I was like, just said hello, and I just didn't understand this violence. But then, also that, you choose to be peaceful, but because I've witnessed war, I experienced it firsthand, back in '97 in Central African Republic. So, violence is not something that when you've seen that kind of cruelty and violence, you want to stay far from violence, but you can be violent as well. So that guy, so when that guy saw my eyes, I think he realized that, oh, shit would hit the fan, and that's when I realized, I was like, okay, this world is really bringing the worst out of me. Let me just stick to the music. Let me just, stay with that. I can't be fucking around with this. Nah, this is too violent for me. And so spent so much time in my apartment, and I was very, very lucky. My parents had bought this big building, and they bought, we all had our own apartments in that building. And I had my apartment, and I was able to just be there hours, days in and out. Eventually, one night, Roberta tells me, she's like, look, Alton Miller is going to be performing in a club at the Milk. Big shout out to Carlos. Milk Club, man. What a fucking amazing club that was, yo. Le Rue de Livourne, pop in Brussels. Forget about it, man. That club, yo, all white, CDJs all white. The mix of everything was just like, the speakers, everything was just so well done. It was really, really, really amazing to see. To experience the sound as well. The sound system was really, really nice for such a small club, and everybody was there, So that night, Alton Miller goes and played it, and I'm like, fuck, Alton Miller, this is the guy whom I discovered through Christian, when I first had arrived in Belgium. So I'm about to meet with the legend. Now, bear in mind, I was already doing my productions way before that, but it was still not at the level that it got to when I met Alton. And so after it set, you see, he killed it, it made it set, and I went, and Roberta uh, who owned together with Dennis at the time, Urban Grooves, a record store. You know, that's like you getting introduced by, you know, gatekeepers. They're like the who's of the nightlife and of the music industry over there. I mean, DJing world, etc. So better co-sign than that I don't see. And so, she looked us up, and Alton and I, we just clicked right away. And, fast forward to a couple of weeks after, we became roommate for almost 4 years. He lived at my place for 3.5 years or so. And roommates, I've learned so much from this guy, man. He really took my education and my knowledge on music and of music to a level that I can't even begin to describe. It's crazy. It's crazy. And so, rest, I would say would be history, but it would not serve justice to explain to you how Ancestral Soul came about. So at the time I met Alton, I was trying to experiment with my sounds, and so we released a project called Prelude to Emotion. If you look it up on Spotify or any of your streaming platforms, you'll find Alton Miller, Boddhi Satva, Prelude to Emotion EP, out on Alton Music. Big shout out to Alexander Scollier, with whom I've worked since I've met him through Alton, and ever since we met, Alexander and I, we still work together. He's my publisher. And yeah, great relationship. And that's 21 years ago. It's crazy. Anyways, we released that project. Soon after that release, it was, I was searching for that sound, that Afrocentric sound. I already had a sound, but I was sounding like other people, even though I had my small identity, but it wasn't established because I was copying what other producers, emulating what other producers were doing. So for me, it was more about understanding, learning the ropes, right? And so I would grab a track by Kenny Dope, for example, Masters at Work, Kenny Dope, Louis Vega, and grab a track by them, put it in my system and study the patterns and the syncopation and the offness of the snares, and trying to find the sounds, and I didn't really have the sounds, so I had to it was, man, incredible times. And so I think about a year in, I hear that Oshun Lade is performing in, no, that's 2 years in almost. Oh, a little less. So I was hired to work at this radio station. Big shout out to Daniel Vega, not Louis Vega. He has nothing to do with Louis Vega, but his radio name is Daniel Vega. Big shout out to Daniel. His radio show was still called City Groove. So he invites me to come on board as an assistant to the radio show, and also DJ performing on the radio show. Sorry. And so being that I was speaking English, he was like, look, how about we start trying to do some interviews and see what's up for some of those festivals happening this summer. I said, okay, cool. And so Oshunade due to play in Antwerp at this club called Stereo Sushi, big club by the way. I mean, big club not in terms of size necessarily, but it was a restaurant, and then downstairs you had a club, and it was just this, man, very unique place. Sound system, man, crazy experience. So Oshunade performs that night. Stereo Sushi. I arranged a meeting with his booker at the time, Peter Boonen. Big shout out to Peter, who was being hard, making it hard for me to get an interview. I really had to chase that interview. And so I said, okay, cool. Oshunade is ready to give you this interview. So, come tonight, be there at 11. No, be there at 10:30 or something, because at 11 he's got to be on or some shit. I said, okay, cool. So I got there in Antwerp, boom. And I just came off a heartbreak, a relationship. You know, this girl I loved, man. I mean, I was so in love with this girl, and we, you know, it took me a long time to get over her, long time. Not just came over. Actually, we had so we I was 19 when we separated. When you know, and yeah. Anyways, one of those long heartbreaks.